Hey everybody, it
Hi.
is episode
32.
yes,
Yeah.
episode 32 of the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast. I'm Devin Francis, aka Leonard Meltzner,
And I should have grabbed my water.
Dr. Blackard. Sometimes they call me.
They call you.
Yes, there are a few places where I'm Dr. Blackard on the internet, but usually Leonard Meltzner. So it is an even-numbered episode, and you know what that means, Victoria?
It's a review.
Yes.
I totally knew it, and then I paused for dramatic effect. Actually, I paused
and
just
then you forgot.
And then I forgot. But it's a review today.
Yes, and it is the review for which month?
Drake the Oh wait, no.
Yes,
the
great old month of Drake.
Episodes. I thought you were asking
I love
the
the month
were.
of Drake. It's beautiful this time of year.
What's your favorite season? Of what? Oh wait, it took me like 10 minutes to get that.
I was like, I don't get it. There was a post on Tumblr, and someone's like, so my cousin asked me, what's your favorite season? And I said, of what? And I read that, and I was like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I didn't get it
And I stared at
either.
it for about 10 seconds, and I was like, oh, they meant the time of year, and not a TV show.
5 minutes. Non-stop. I was just staring at it, and I was like, what does it mean? And then I finally got it like 2 hours later.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Like after 5
Everything
minutes.
is right with us, obviously. So much more than other people. I mean, who would think the time of year? Who goes outside? Ew.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went outside today, and my dad's like, isn't it nice? And then I went back inside.
That's one of the lawns.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are talking about Drake the Cosmic Copper, because it's April. That is the month. The month of Drake-prol. Drake-prol, yes. And Patrick Part 2, because we talked about Part 1 last month, because March 17th is St. Patrick's Day. Okay, Drake the Cosmic Copper.
We missed St. Patrick's Day.
I didn't.
Wait, when March was like 2 months ago?
Yeah.
I forgot to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I'll have to pinch you
yeah.
right now.
I wore green. I think.
I don't care.
Probably not.
I don't care. Ow! No!
Anyways, so Drake the Cosmic Copper. As we're going into this episode, we're like, that's a really dumb name. We thought about that.
I postponed watching the episode for like...
My watch came on.
What is that? Oh, it's your watch. I postponed watching the listening to the episode for like quite a while. I was planning on postponing it until Devin forced me to, like right before we got this episode out, so like 2 months after Drake the Cosmic Copper came out. That was a nudge. That was a stab at you. But after like a week, I decided to listen to it. And then I completely ignored it like halfway through, and I started again another day.
Yeah, when the name first came out, we were like, this is a dumb name. And then this
I
description
thought it was
came
gonna be
out.
about a magician.
Then the description came out, and we're like, this sounds even worse now. So we had very low expectations coming into it. Then we listened to the episode.
I had like expectations in the negatives, but let's not say
but what happened to our expectations?
Oh.
Were they fulfilled, or was it actually really good? Let's find out.
Was it as bad as we thought it would be, or was there actually something redeeming about it? So, who wrote this episode, Devin?
That's a good question. I forgot to write that up.
The one time I actually remember to ask you who wrote it before I do my description.
It is missing off my thing.
Let me totally mess it up.
Let me go on AIOO. Start talking about. Read your description.
Okay. So, Drake the Cosmic Copper. The plot of this is Wooten comes into Whit's End and tells Whit, Jason, Connie, and Penny about how he has an idea for a new series of comic books entitled Drake the Cosmic Copper. This futuristic sci-fi story starts with Drake and his robotic assistant/sidekick Woots, played by Wooten, on a mission to discover a plot behind a new group of people who have arrived on their planet and are believed to be raising up a zombie army. Every time Drake finds out more information about this strange group, what?
This strange group's plans. You forgot the apostrophe.
Oh yeah. Every single time Drake finds out more information about this strange group's plans, his translator, which he uses in order to communicate with them, glitches up and makes it sound as if the group is trying to kill everyone on the planet and force them to join their army under the guidance of their quote-unquote overlord. As Drake is given orders from his boss to destroy all the aliens, he goes out to find more about their plans before destroying them, and finds out that his boss has been censoring many of the things that the aliens say, and that's why he can't understand them and his translator glitches, which made him believe that they are dangerous. Drake turns off his translator and finds out that they are a group called Christians. Drake says he wants to know more about them and the one they call Jesus, and that is where Wooten ends his story and states that he needs help with the ending. Connie adds some romance between Drake and one of the aliens. Penny makes the boss say sorry and also become friends with the aliens. And Jason ends it all with a shootout between some dangerous aliens that suddenly came out of literally nowhere that started attacking Drake as Drake was about to get baptized. And that is how the episode ends.
Yes. So, it was written by Bob Hoose and directed by Bob Hoose. Produced by Dave Arnold, post-production by Nathan Jones, and music by John Campbell, of course. Yes. Okay, I'm still absolutely in love with these OAC opening bits they have at the start. They're so clever. I also love the fact that, I love the shout-out to the fact that there's a huge
I don't know what you're trying to say.
I love the shout-out in this one to the fact that there's a huge advantage in radio shows over TV shows in that you can do things like drive while you listen, which is something I took great advantage of when I was a pizza delivery driver.
I like how they make it sound like if you listen to Odyssey, your chances of driving better increase by like tenfold.
Which is true. Unless, you're Dave Arnold listening, editing, License to Drive, you almost
then
drove
you're
off
going
the
to
road.
die.
Oh, and that one driver who's listening to that one 4th of July special or whatever, and he started tearing up while he was driving his semi.
Yeah.
That too.
Nothing bad happened to these people in the end, fortunately.
No, this isn't a chain letter. Forward this video on to all your friends now.
Oh, we did what we said we weren't going to do in the last episode.
More shameless promoing.
That was
self-promo.
fast.
Jason, great way to start an episode. He hasn't been on a while. And then the title character is modeled after Jason. I'm like, this is even better. What a great way. It's already making things better than I thought it was going to be.
Okay, so my turn now. So it's some of these characters in Wooten's story are based off of his friends. So
Well, they all are.
So this shows that what he thinks of them. He thinks Connie is a pretty alien, and he thinks Jason is handsome. He also thinks Whit is a mob boss and Penny is evil. Now, I'm not an expert, but if you want a girl to like you, you do not make them the villain of your story who wants to kill everyone in the story and everyone is scared of. That would just kind of be a turnoff for me. I don't know. Maybe Penny finds it attractive.
Mixed signals. It's like when the doctor describes Let's Kill Hitler. It's like, as far as first dates go, I'd say that was mixed signals.
Yeah, so, what was I saying?
Penny and Wooten.
Maybe it's revenge against Penny, like, not picking up on Wooten's hints.
Perhaps.
So he got really mad and made her the villain, but I'm not completely sure. Anyway, I'll get more to Penny after.
So, Woots, to me, sounds exactly like Jerry from Totally Spies, which makes sense because he is, Jess Harnell is Jerry from Totally Spies. But just the way his intonation and Britishness and stuff was almost identical, which is weird because it's Odyssey, but it's also that. And I was like, if he gets angry in this accent and it starts to sound like Bennett Charles, I'm going to be really freaked out.
Woots reminded me a lot of Wheatley from Portal 2. Just like how he was kind of a chatterbox and all over the place a little bit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Also, like, the way he was talking at the beginning and, like, Drake had to keep on getting after him, like, hey, I'm in charge of this. I thought Woots was going to turn out to be the villain. But can you see what
He sort of was. He was sort of an unwitting accomplice.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, a little bit. But I thought he was going to be, like, the main villain. And stuff and try and take over his spot.
I thought it was interesting, as you're saying, because this episode, all of the characters are like modeled after and voiced by real people in Odyssey, and this is the second episode in a row now, as such, because it was the same thing with In a Kingdom Far Away.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. We have those two consecutive ones, which are very similar.
In this one, though.
No, sadly, no. 1131. Drake said that his badge number was 1131. He said it really quickly, but I heard it and I rewound it twice. I was like, so exciting, because he's Jason.
How does Wooten know that? Or unless it's just some random happenstance. Random something happenstance from Dr. Horrible Sing-Along blog. Crazy random happenstance, that's what it is.
Wow, what a crazy random happenstance. That was a great reference that Jason, because of course Jason used to be Agent 1131 for the National Security Agency, and that was his badge number is Drake. Victoria makes an extremely good point. How did Wooten know that?
Jason could have told Wooten because he's like an amazing listener, and he likes listening to the details, and he remembers weird things like that.
That is a very good question.
Why would Jason mention something like that?
That is a very good question. He could have told after he came back and everyone already knew he was the spy. He could have been telling you, he was like, blah, 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 yeah, I was actually a spy. I was Agent 1131 for the NSA, blah, 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 blah. Maybe.
Still, it seems
I like the idea that Wooten actually has secret security clearance for an evil organization or something like that.
What? You write comic books? Let us give you secret security clearance to the NSA, because that is a thing you need to know. It might help you write things more accurately about weapons.
What if the plots of Wonder Boy were filled with, like, secret
What if Wonder
plans
Boy
and stuff?
is Jason?
No. Wooten is like a mastermind planner for an evil organization, and the way that he communicates with people and communicates, like, the plans and other messages and stuff is by encoding them into his comic books.
No, get this. Jason...
Headcanon video!
Shut up. Jason is Wonder Boy. Tasha is the bus. And the Whisperer is the giant duck.
Then who's Beth the Barbarian?
Everyone else.
Jason also said that the date was 1005943. I have yet to figure out what the significance of this number is. If you figure it out, please let me know. Oh yeah, the weird voice that he made when he's like talking funny and Connie asks what it is, and he's like, a deviated septum in my nose. I thought that was probably the weirdest yet most logical explanation that you possibly could have come up with in half a second, because it makes perfect sense, but who would think of that on the spot?
Maybe someone working with the NSA. I put, wow, real smooth, Jason. Is that how you normally pick up girls? I really see what Connie sees in you. Did you ever try that one? Yeah. Did you ever try that one on Tasha? No wonder she wanted to marry you. Like, do you think that's how he introduces himself? Hi, my name is Jason. I have a deviated septum in my nose.
You know what that means?
That's really charming.
Your septum is the middle piece of your nose. This.
I don't want to know.
Well, no, it's the middle part between your nostrils.
I don't want to know that, Devin.
A septum just means like a dividing thing. It's also the name for the wall down the middle of your heart that separates the left and the right sides.
I have a deviated septum in my heart.
That would be a lot more serious problem than in your nose.
Anyway.
So, I figured out pretty early on that the aliens were supposed to be Christians. And
I figured it out, when did I figure it out? Trying to remember. Keep talking. I'll think about it.
And that the reason that it wouldn't translate was because their speech and the worldview was so radically different that no one could understand them. It's like when we speak Christianese and other people don't understand.
Brother in Christ zoned.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Blimey Cow so much. So what I did with this episode is I tried to listen to it. I tried to listen to it once, but I wasn't paying attention at all. I got halfway through it, and then, like, towards the second time, where, like, translators started glitching out, I was just like, wait a second. Things might be getting interesting. So I rewound the whole episode to the beginning. So I actually paid attention to the whole thing. And then by the time I got, like, by the time I got to, like, the first part where she started talking and they're lowering the people into the vats, I'm like, baptism? And I'm just like, and then after she started talking more, I'm like, holy crap! That is ingenious!
Yeah, I figured out the allegory here pretty quickly, but it was still very clever, and I really loved the entire angle that they did with it was just great. I love. So yeah, I figured that they were at that point, and then Connie says in her untranslated, trying to speak English, "Overlord rule you, give you new insides, you die." I was like, "Yep, definitely Christians," and they did that really.
That's how I go up to people, and if I want to
evangelism.
Overall rule you, give you new insides, you die.
Go ye therefore could have been such a different episode.
Oh man, that would be so funny. Funniest part is, it would have been Connie saying it in both cases.
That's why we were saying it. It would have been so great.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, yeah, they're definitely Christians, and they did that so well. And Katie, I don't know, being someone who, you know, speaks another language and stuff, and kind of like...
What does she speak?
No, me. I mean, and that I speak another language. And she was trying to speak a language there that she doesn't speak, and there's probably very different anatomy in terms of the linguistics and stuff. And for me, someone who likes to study how the tongue and the throat moves doing different accents and voices and stuff, Katie did a fantastic job for not just saying the line really creepily like she couldn't say it properly, but moving her mouth in a way that didn't just sound like it was another language from her planet, but like it was someone of a totally different species and a different biology trying to make the sounds with her mouth.
Which,
if that makes sense, it's like it was very expertly done. It made me think of how when Karen Gillan had to play older Amy in The Girl Who Waited, how they didn't just give her like the older makeup and stuff. She actually spent time with a walking coach in order to figure out she used an entirely different walk when she was older, because she would have walked totally differently because of her age and the experiences she had and injuries and stuff like that. So she spent time with a walking coach to she actually moved an entirely different body style when she was older to represent that, which is really intense, but that little thing you don't pick up on, and that's exactly how I felt about the way Katie worded that there.
I had a question. So they say that, because the Christians are, I'm guessing, humans.
Yeah.
So
they're from Earth, and they're on this other...
So that would mean that Drake is a different species, and with this episode, there is...
So really, Wooten thinks that Connie's human, and Jason is a handsome alien.
Yeah. So... Drake really looks human from the picture. I mean, like, he's wearing armor, but
except for his chin. It's like...
He looks
like Crimson Chin from Fairly Odd Parents.
But in my opinion, he looked very human, so maybe it was like...
Well, so does the Doctor, but he's not human.
Yeah, I know, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, like, there's lots of species in Doctor Who that look very human. It could be like one of those...
For purely scientific reasons, and not because, you know, they couldn't get real aliens to act on the show.
Well, I was thinking, like, maybe it could be something like the half-human, half-alien species from Doctor Who that still looked like humans.
Sorry, which one?
Like, you know how Cassandra's the last human?
Oh, you mean like a hybrid species?
Yeah,
I
like
see.
A hybrid between human and something
But it sounded like
else.
humans were new on the planet, so he probably doesn't have any human DNA in him.
Yeah. So, like, but they did seem like they weren't familiar with humans.
Yeah.
But, like, how did they teach... What's his name? Like, Whit's character, the mob boss guy, their language then?
Did he learn their language, or did he have a translator?
No, he actually... I don't think he had a translator, because
I would imagine everyone on that planet would have a translator.
No, they all said they didn't have their translators.
Oh, okay, then I guess he just learned it. People learn languages.
Because they weren't using their translators at the end.
Whit is super smart.
Speaking without his.
Yeah. Hey, you know, it's funny. Remember just a couple episodes we were talking about how Whit was like the ultimate mob boss of Chicago? Here we are.
Oh, we keep on calling things.
We're like the Griffin and Jenny of Adventures in Odyssey.
First I call the Eugenius thing coming up in the next episode, and now we call it what's going to be a mob boss. We're just so smart.
Next thing we know, Whit's going to be an Alicorn princess. And we're going to be the ones who predicted it. Okay, so yeah, I was very impressed with how Katie delivered that line. The way of the collective, that's what they called themselves. Yeah, that is very creepy wording. It's also
Yeah,
another...
when I was listening to it, I'm like, either they're, like, before I was sure if they were Christians or not, I was thinking, like, either they are some wacko cult, or I don't know, because I didn't know what they were. I was, like, so sure that they were a cult, and then after realizing they were Christians, I'm like, wow, is this why everyone thinks we're a cult? And I'm like, that is so
Well,
weird.
technically speaking, we are cult of Judaism. Technically. Yeah, so the way of the collective name, I thought another odd similarity to last week and having the people of the cross as a group allegory for Christians. Once again, by this point I was thinking, I can't even begin to imagine what the charity is for this month.
Space camp!
Yeah, Bart Rathbone Space Camp.
Oh man, what do you think that'd be like? It'd be like a bunch of garbage cans with like holes poked in them and like a flashlight over top that doesn't work.
So I was listening to this, I was like, huh, so this is how non-church people see us.
Yeah, I know, I was thinking
pretty interesting from an outside perspective. Also, Army of the Undead, technically true, I suppose.
Yeah, when they're just like, at the end when Drake was saying to like, I can't remember his name, it's killing me, Whit's character, he was saying like, you can't go in that liquid, you'll die, and he's like, technically true, and I'm just like, what? And then I'm like, I love this episode so much!
They did it.
This episode is on my top 10 episode list. That is how good it is.
So yeah, spoiler alert, this episode turned out to be really, really good.
This episode was amazing, especially since we didn't want to listen to it in the first place.
Yeah.
And like, I listened to it, and then I'm like, Devin, you have to listen to this. You have to listen to us. And I kept bothering him like every 2 minutes.
No, it wasn't about listening to it. It was about recording
it
for you. She was bothering me like crazy. I was like, you ask me one more time, I'm not going to record it because she was so hampering about it.
I was being really annoying towards him. I apologized after. He was threatening not to even listen to it in general. But...
No, I was going to listen to it. I was just going to record it and never give the recording to you.
Thanks.
Anyway, so at this point, I started really wondering, who's the commander?
Yeah, I know. I was like, Woot is like building up this tough, scary commander.
I was trying to figure out, like,
whole first
who
half.
could it be? I was thinking...
And I'm like thinking, like, I didn't even know. I wasn't sure if it'd be, like, an Odyssey character or something. I'm thinking, like, maybe it's Eugene on steroids or something. That would be scary. No, I didn't think that, but that'd be hilarious in a creepy way. But I was thinking, like, is it someone like Blackguard or something like that? They're a villain. They might not be around yet, and they wouldn't actually be that person, but Wooten could draw inspiration from them. So I'm trying to think, like, who is it? I'm thinking, like, oh man, this guy must be so bad. And then, like, Drake comes in, and, like, he's just like, and Wooten's just like, do you want me to hold your hand? I'm kidding, he doesn't say that. He's like, do you want me to go in with you? And he's just like, no, I'm good. And he just goes in, Jason way, opens the door, and he's just like, ah, and he's just like, you wanted to see me? Commander! And then you just hear Penny's voice. And it's just like, oh, hey, Drake, you goofy guy! And I'm listening, I'm just like, what?
Yeah, I was curious about who it was going to be, and I was figuring either it was going to be a super macho, scary person, or possibly more likely they were building all up to, like, ironic switch, and it was going to be someone, like, totally non-threatening. And I was thinking... Maybe,
I never even thought of that second one.
Maybe it's going to be Penny, because I was thinking, who is present at Whit's End at the beginning of the episode, and she was the only other one. Plus, they did say she was a girl before, the commander was a female before she appeared.
Oh, I don't remember them saying that.
They said she, in reference to her.
Oh,
but,
I didn't pick up on that, apparently.
To that, Woot started to sound a bit like Strax, talking about wanting to go in with flashbang grenades and acid turret, blah, 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 sounded just like that. Having the good guy have this weird semi-friendly conversation with the Italian mob boss, where they're played by Whit and Jason.
No, I want to go back to Penny.
We're not there yet.
Oh,
I was just starting to wonder there. Yeah, we have a good guy, and he's having this weird semi-friendly conversation with the Italian mob boss, and they're played by Whit and Jason. I was like, there's absolutely no similarity to the Green Ring Conspiracy Part 8 right here.
Are we at Penny yet?
Yes.
Okay. So, oh, that's what I put about Jeff. I put that too.
Stop looking at my notes.
Okay, sorry.
This is a problem we don't have when I'm in Vancouver because Victoria can't see what's on my screen.
See, look.
Victoria wrote down the same thing.
I wrote down the same thing as Devin. Oh my gosh.
Go on, talk about Penny.
When it comes to Jeff, we're just on the same track.
We are so in sync.
We are.
Quack. Oh, I was gonna say quack too. So Penny's the commander.
So yeah, I'm just listening, and she's being like so nice to Jason. I'm just thinking like, why are they scared of her? What is going on? I'm thinking like, I'm kind of disappointed. I'm like just sitting there, and she's like messing things up on the translator. I'm like, that'd be funny if I wasn't so confused. Like, what is going on? What are you guys doing? And then at the end, she's just like, I want you to take them out. And Jason's like, what do you mean, take them out? And she's like, you know. And then her voice goes all like Jekyll and Hyde, all crazy GLaDOS-y. And she's just like, wipe them off the face of the planet. And I actually jumped out of my seat when I was listening to that.
It's nice to hear some variety in Kimmy's voice.
And it scared me so badly. And I was just like I was terrified. My eyes like popped out. My mouth, my jaw was like hanging
Your eyes
open.
popped out?
And I was just like
Total Recall.
No, not like that. Only Arnold is that special. And Penny, I eat you.
I need you to take them out. Wipe them off the face of the planet. Go on.
But I was just in shock, and I'm just like, did that seriously come from Penny?
It's nice
and
to
I'm
hear
thinking,
variety
like,
in Kimmy Robertson's
yeah.
voice.
And then I'm like, I didn't even know she could do that with her voice. And then I'm thinking like there was this part of me that was like impressed in a terrified, blood-curdling kind of way. And I had like this newfound terrified respect for the commander. And yeah.
The only other person that I thought it might be besides Penny, I figured it was her because she was the only other person who hadn't been used yet. Who was that Whit's end.
Harlow!
I thought the other person it could be, who's a woman, could be Mrs. Kramer. She would fit with the original idea of it being really crazy and scary.
Oh my gosh. If it was Mrs. Kramer, that would be so amazing. It'd be like Roz.
Yeah.
She is Roz.
She is.
She is Roz.
I'm watching you, Drake. Always watching.
And it's like I'm watching through to Drake.
Yeah. Being a Whovian and listening to this episode, all this talk about those alien people sounded extremely racist to me, and I felt a little bit offended by the way that they talked, grouping all the aliens together as like they're inherently evil. Did you think about that? That sounded a little racist.
I think I was still in shock by Penny at this point.
Well, I mean, through the whole episode all the time.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
Like, this whole species is, like, evil. We're going to type box them all because they're different from us. I was like, no. Unless, you know,
Alien
like, Daleks or
racism
Cybermen.
is a serious problem. Only you can prevent alien racism.
Fires. Okay, so I hope I'm not the only one in this episode who, seeing another parallel, but not to In a Kingdom Far Away this time, Captain Absolutely and his backstory, because
I actually did think of Captain Absolutely.
Both
at
of
a couple
them
points in this.
are these heroes where the authorities of their area have completely blacklisted all Christian material so that no one else knows about it.
It wasn't as bad as Captain Absolutely. It was mostly just, what's his friend's name? It was mostly just his friend that did it. I mean, like,
Drake's friend or Captain Absolutely?
Captain Absolutely. I mean, like, the town was against it, but once he started talking to him, they're like, yeah, sure.
Well, no, but
like,
remember,
they're kind of indifferent.
the Bibles were totally outlawed.
Yeah,
the bear's
I know,
like, you're
but...
not... See, in there, it was like the mayor of Metropolitanville had completely outlawed the Bible, and same thing here, Commander Wise was blacklisting all talk and physical material about Christianity.
Commander Wise. I don't think that's what her name was, but let's just go with that.
So, as we get towards the end, as Victoria and I both realize, Connie is like suggesting, she's like,
yeah,
they're
at
like,
the
how,
end.
Wooten's like, how should it end? And Connie's like, I think that what's-her-face and Drake should
Cindy.
fall in love. Yeah, Cindy and Drake should fall in love. I was
And
like...
Cindy is Connie's character.
I was
so
like...
I'm listening, and I'm just like, no, I thought we got through this in album 28. It's been 26. I'm like, Love is in the Air is over, Connie, no. And then I'm just like,
what will
Connie
Jeff say?
still likes Jason. And then I put a little teary face on. I'm like, sorry, Jeff.
What will Jeff say?
I was thinking of Jeff throughout all of that. She's like, oh, Drake, my hero. And I'm just like, Jeff!
We were so close.
No! He better come back.
He will.
He
But
better
seriously,
come back.
that...
They better get married.
Okay, that story packed a walloping of amazing stuff in there, and fantastic allegorizing in terms of really clever twisting it, and a really cool AU the way they did everything. It was like...
Before you say your final thoughts...
Oh, I still have a bit to say.
Okay. I have, like, a whole rant on the ending, like the last scene.
Okay.
So.
Oh yeah, and then everything kind of goes crazy, I say, and then we end it by seeing what this episode would have looked like as a live show. Is that what you were going to rant about?
Well, what I was going to rant about was I love every second of this episode so much. The only problems I have with it are the ending.
Is the ending.
Yeah. Because, like, you have this terrible mob boss, so I'm thinking, I don't want them to be redeemed. And then Penny's just like, oh, they turn out to be nice. And I'm thinking, I'm like,
he already was a Christian.
Like, oh, not the mob boss. I meant Commander.
Wise.
Yeah.
You sound
so
like Jonah,
like,
Victoria.
Sorry.
How do you like it if your weed died on you? I don't want the Commander to be redeemed. Shame on you.
But, like, she had all these reasons, which we didn't know about.
Yeah, that was really random.
To be, like, against Christianity and stuff. And at the end, she's like, nah, I'm good with it. Let's be best friends.
I don't think that was canon in Wooten's story.
No, but he came in. The whole reason he came in to tell them everything was because, like, I need an ending. Can you guys help me come up with an ending? Yeah, and I'm
sure that's what he used for the ending. I don't think that's what he would have officially used for his actual ending to the story. Because it made no sense.
And then Jason's just like, I randomly want this to be, like, a shooting because I'm Jason and I miss the agency, which everyone knows. I'm probably going to go back to him in, like, 2 episodes.
Even though
and then go back and forth for, like, 5 albums. And so then I'm just like,
half of the past 30.
Jason, you need to make up your mind. Jeez. And then, like, they're like,
remember when he left so vehemently that he had to fake his own death? And then he went back to London to defeat
and no
Mr.
one,
Grote.
like, and then he came back to Odyssey and everyone's just like 2 people commented, but everyone else is like, oh, hey, Jason. Yeah, how are you? It's not like you died or anything.
The end of Accidental Dilemma, I think apparently everyone already knew that he was alive. And
except for Tasha.
Got around. Yeah.
I wonder how long it took her to figure it out.
She was probably the first one to know.
I bet one day she's just like going to sleep and she's like half asleep and then she opens her eyes. She's like, darn it, Jason! That'd be so funny. Again. That'd be so funny.
Okay, go on your rant about the last
scene. And then Penny, or Connie, we already talked about this, but, like, she's just, like, opening her heart up, and then I'm like, isn't Jason gonna comment? And then Jason's just like, I wanna shoot things, because I'm a guy, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I went there. And so then, we all know he was thinking it.
I wasn't doing that to you, I was doing that to him.
Oh, yeah. And so then, and then the one redeemable thing you hear in the past couple seconds, which is surprisingly a line from Commander Wise, who I think I had the most problems with in the last scene.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah, for obvious reasons. Next to Connie. Was the, aren't you going to come over for cake? Which I'm thinking like, oh my gosh. And then she's just like, I thought you were going to be baptized.
Can you make this
and then I'm just
cracky?
like, and then I'm like, baptized? That was fast, but depending on how much time this took after the, like, if you think about it, that line kind of makes the ending make a bit more sense, because that shows that, like, you're not gonna, like, find out about Christianity and Jesus and, like, 2 seconds later be like, oh, I want to be baptized. Like, no, it's a process, so that means that it would happen quite a while after which means, and also Woots was back up. So that means Drake would have gone back to the agency, probably with the mob boss and like Cindy and some other people, and then talked to the commander and talked to Woots and everything. And yeah, and actually, unless they were shot down, which they obviously weren't, like literally shot down, because Penny's like a psychopath in this.
True story.
I think they'd actually listen, so that actually adds a bit of merit to the ending. What do you think?
Yeah.
Are you just saying that?
Yeah, no, you are right. I like that. Good point. So then we had the bonus Odyssey stuff for the episode. So we found out the guy who's drawing these Drake the Cosmic Copper comics is not...
Are there going to be more?
I hope so.
I hope so. I actually really want to see it continue.
Yeah, it was cool that it was a prequel and stuff, but I'll get to that. The guy who draws the comics is not only a Christian comic book producer, but he is an Odyssean. That's super cool. And he's like, I listened to Adventures in Odyssey on cassette tapes. They're sort of like CDs, but cooler. It's like, yeah, shout out to the 90s.
Well, we first started listening to Odyssey on cassette tapes, too.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said it. And he was talking about how watching the cassette tape rotors spinning is hypnotic and stuff, and it sucks him into Odyssey. I was like, this is hilarious. I love this guy. And he's like, I'd be laying on the floor, but I could be with Bernard or Eugene or on Tom Riley's farm picking a fresh apple. I still listen to Adventures in Odyssey. And then he's like, I play the ukulele too. And I'm like, this guy is awesome.
Yeah, I know. I'm listening to this. I'm like, I love this man. Did he come up with Drake the Cosmic Copper?
If this man was a Bible bowl, I'd marry him.
Oh, Arya Curzon.
That quote's going on Facebook.
I love that line so much. And then I love how it's just like dead silence. And he's
Oh,
like, is that
so
only
funny.
me? But anyway.
Long way home. Decent half episode. I
can't remember what I was saying.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, did he come up with Drake the Cosmic Copper, or was it a thing before?
It was probably a thing came up with Bob Hoose or whoever's doing stuff with the OAC for it.
Either way, this guy is awesome.
Yes. Okay, so there is a screenshot of a script about aliens here, and I'm presuming that it's the script for the comic book itself that he was making, and one of the characters is named Asimov, and I was like, yeah, sci-fi references. Do you get it?
No.
Isaac Asimov is one of the most prolific science fiction writers in history.
F.I.?
What?
You said... Oh, did you say S?
What?
What? You said F.I. reference.
F.I. reference? Wait,
Never
what?
mind. Never mind.
I
Just
said
keep on
Isaac
talking.
Asimov was one of the most prolific sci-fi writers in history.
I don't know what I'm listening to. You keep on talking.
You know, it wasn't until the pastor started talking about baptism that I realized that the episode was specifically supposed to be... Well, I mean, I knew baptism was in it, but I didn't really think about how it was supposed to be specifically about baptism as much as like how different worldview is for Christians versus other people.
Well,
and
when
how
I was
the
clicking
views...
on the episode, like either the second or first time, I saw like, you know how it's like the questions right app under like the thing where you click on the episode, it said something about baptism. So I'm like, oh, there's gonna be baptism stuff in it. So I think
You
that's
must have forgot about that.
No, I think that's how I figured out that it was like when they're like, oh, they're lowering them into the things and they're dying. So I'm like, oh, that's where the baptism stuff comes into it.
Yeah. So it wasn't until this pastor was talking about baptism I realized that this episode just made a specific stance on the age that you get baptized at, which I thought is interesting because Odyssey is a very non-denominational show. Well, and I was like, I guess it didn't because the humans had just gotten to that planet, so no one could have been baptized when they were a baby. So I guess it wasn't really making a stance, which makes more sense. Still, I'm glad that they're addressing it in the video and how different denominations look at it, which is cool. It ties in well with our last review where I was talking about Patrick and sainthood and how well Odyssey can handle matters of interdenominationality.
Is that a word?
It is now. I'm quite curious as to whether or not this comic series is going to be ongoing, like I said to Victoria.
I hope it is.
I mean in the show. Like, is Drake the Cosmic Copper going to be an ongoing Wooten Bassett comic series within the canon of Odyssey? If so, is Captain Absolutely going to continue then?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I really like Captain Absolutely, and so I hope that continues. But personally, I like Drake the Cosmic Copper more.
I think
as
so,
long
too.
as they don't start rolling with the Penny is a good guy,
They better
Connie
not.
is in love with him.
I don't think the ending
I
is canon.
am fine with whatever they do with it.
Yeah.
If they stay away from those two things.
So yeah, I'm curious about what's going to happen now. Is Captain Absolutely going to continue? Will Drake continue to be a detective for the Cosmic Police Force, or whatever it's called?
Considering Wooten said that ending was a good idea, yeah, it is canon.
Will he have to go off the grid to escape the evil Commander Pennywise? Tune in next time.
No, Wooten was okay with that ending. He made it the ending.
No. So, weird thing. Apparently, there is no charity for this month,
What?
it seems. Because I was wondering, I was like, what the heck charity is going to go with this month? And I looked it up, and sure enough, there was none. The featured charity box on the website has a picture of Connie as Cindy instead of a charity logo.
So the money goes to Katie Lee or
and
factories that make green
Yes.
sweaters.
And the episode verse where the charity description is supposed to go, and the visit the website part for the charity thing, all those links redirect to the OAC homepage.
So the charity
odd.
was itself.
Yes. What a twist! The prequel comic, the one that you actually got to download with it and look through it, that was the prequel to this story, was actually quite interesting.
I really liked it.
It wasn't... Yeah, because this
was
is...
way shorter than I thought it would.
It was really cool because it wasn't just a prequel in terms of the plot and about the adventure he kept mentioning a couple times in the episode, but it was a prequel in terms of character development. Now, to give a quick summary here, Drake was ready to go on vacation after 5 years of working, but he just had to take care of some pirates. He didn't wait for Commander Penny to radio in to who the pirates were, which ship was the pirates, so he destroyed the Arcanian Crabmen, which he talked about there.
Sorry, something I was trying to do downloaded.
He destroyed the Arcanian Crabmen, but they weren't the actual pirates, criminal though they may have been. Drake got the human assignment as a punishment for messing up. So when he was hesitant to attack the humans in the episode without checking off first and making sure they were actually evil, it was because of what he'd done on his previous mission. Character development.
I want
that
to
was
know
really
if the
cool.
comic was written first or the episode.
I'm sure the episode was written first.
So, like, did they have those things specifically in the episode because of the comic?
No, they would
and
have
wrote
written
them
the
at same
comic.
time?
They would have written the comic afterwards and written the comic in response to the episode.
Anyway, I really love that comic. I love, like, Penny has the last line, and she's like, I want you to go take care of these new aliens that just landed on the planet. I think it has to do something with, like, a zombie invasion or something. And then I'm just like, oh my gosh.
And then it was
is
like, oh,
awesome.
this is why he was like, don't shoot first, ask questions later, because of his last mission, and he lost his vacation time.
And then at the
because of
very
this. It's
end, when I didn't pick up on this until, like, I actually read the comic, when he was having that all shootout at the end, he's like, I have to take care of these Arcanian crabmen that just wandered in, and those were the aliens he was shooting at the end. And I'm like, I see what you did there. And I'm like, so is he actually supposed to shoot them this time? Or
no, because that ending was not canon.
Yes, it is.
Final ratings, Victoria.
No, it'd be interesting if, like, if they did, like, an episode coming up that was, like, a Drake the Cosmic Copper episode and actually happened between the ending that Wooten came up with and the ending of everyone else. It was, like, the time in between where Penny would become nice.
No, Penny can't become Dice, and there won't be a villain. She needs to be the evil commander.
Cindy would accidentally take a love potion that makes her crush on Drake for one day, so it doesn't last.
Love potions are very sci-fi.
Shut up. And, unless you're saying that sarcastic.
I was saying it sarcastically.
Okay, and...
You caught that on
the other
camera.
stuff. Yep.
So, what's your rating?
Don't worry, we'll just censor it out. 5 billion stars and 2 beyond or whatever.
Second star to the right.
Yeah. I give it from infinity to beyond out of 5.
I'm going to give this episode a should I give it 5 out of 5?
Are you just saying that?
Because of the ending, I'm going to go with 4.9. out of 5.
Are you serious?
Yes.
What?
Because the ending was really out of left field and it didn't fit with it at all.
That's
other than that,
true, but it was an amazing
other than
episode.
that, the episode was perfect.
If you can give, like, what was it called? In a Kingdom Far, Far Away, like, 4 stars or whatever.
I didn't give it 4.
Like,
I gave it
3.5
3.5.
stars. You can give this one, like, 20 stars.
True. But I can't give it perfect. But I gave it as close to perfect as I can without being there. I gave it an asymptote to perfect. So, yeah, it was fantastic. The lesson was amazing. There was a number of different lessons that were kind of weaved together in a very clever way. A wonderful an allegory, extremely cleverly written and acted out. It was wrapped up in a very clever AIOO that was new and not like anything they've ever done on the show before.
It was, like, really bizarre to listen to because it was, like, an outward perspective, yet it was also inward. Does that make sense? And I just loved everything about it. Like, the glitches, I was listening to it. That's what really caught my attention and made me actually, like, pay attention to the episode.
Because that's when things started to seem like it's not all,
yeah,
like,
because I'm listening to it, and I'm
Daisy
just thinking,
anymore.
like, oh, this is so boring. It's like as bad as I thought it would be.
And then you're
and
like,
then all of a sudden,
conspiracy?
and then I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, oh, this is getting interesting. What is this? And turned out to be an amazing episode. So
It did. Our expectations were completely flipped around,
this
which
was
I'm
the bar.
very...
That was my expectation, shooting past it.
Well, not your expectations, your
Or my
realizations.
opinion.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Very pleasant surprise came from this episode. So that's our rating, and I believe then it is now time to go over to Patrick, A Heart of Fire, Part 2 for our April. So
I put in my last note was, you guys just ruined the end of the episode, and it was an angry, frowny face.
I see that. All right. So since there's no split screen, that means we can use sliding transitions. So let's go to Part 2 of Patrick, A Heart of Fire right now.
Which way are we pointed? That way.
Ow, my face.
Ah.
Whoa! We are being physically tumultuized by the post-production edit of this frame. Wow. Whoa, I'm getting seasick, Victoria.
I'm literally at the front of my seat. I might fall off. Oh,
Don't.
that is the worst line ever.
Don't go there.
That is the worst line ever.
Patrick, Part 2, April episode, following up on our March Patrick, A Heart of Fire, Part 1. Written by Paul McCusker and Mark Summer. Okay.
You mean Matt Summer?
Yeah. You did the descriptions. I forgot to write down the stuff from the guide about it, so I'm going to go grab the guide from my bedroom while you read the summary for the episode.
Okay.
Go, Victoria.
So, Patrick, A Heart of Fire, Part 2. Whit continues where he left the last part, where the last part left off, in telling Garrett about Patrick sailing away on the pirate ship. Patrick goes back to his village in England to find out what happened to his family, where he finds that his village was repaired. As he walks to his family's farm, he finds his family still alive, unharmed, and happier than ever to see him all right. Patrick has a dream at his family's farm, where he receives letters appealing to him to return to Ireland once more and tell them of God's word. So, after Patrick says goodbye to his family, he returns back to Ireland, much to Jared's surprise. Once Patrick and the other Christian priests arrive in Ireland, they receive much opposition from Loughru, but are permitted entry because of the Queen. Patricia. Patrick and his priests impress the king and queen so much that they are allowed to spread the news of God across the land.
These are getting longer and longer every time.
Yeah, that's because I was actually listening to this one while I wrote it, which I haven't done for the other ones.
That makes sense.
So I went a lot more in detail. Loughru and Lucid May come up with... Lucid Mail. L. Capital L at the end of her name. Lucid Mail. Don't do that, that's creepy. Come up with an idea how to kill Patrick via poison. Patrick and the other priests built a giant fire on the top of the hill one Easter night, in rebellion of Crum Cruach, Loughru, and the Druids. After Patrick What?
That's not how you spell druid.
Shut it. Thank you. After Patrick is brought into the palace to tell the king of his reasons for his actions, Lockroot... That shouldn't be the end of the sentence. Lockroot tries to poison Patrick, but Patrick knows of Lockroot's plan and tries to get Lockroot to drink the poison. I described this part really badly. The king then says that he'll drink it if there is no reason to fear, as Lockroot states that the drink is poisoned. Anyway, Lockroot ends up revealing his plans, and the king throws him out, and Lucid mellow, and then the king tells Patrick to spread the news of Christianity throughout Ireland and also tell the queen and himself about God. Jared thanks Whit for telling him the story and says that now he'll be able to wear his green shirt on St. Patrick's Day and with pride. That's not what he says in the episode, but that's what I wrote.
I was going to say, he doesn't say the word pride. You've said that before, but I listened to it, and that's not what
thinks it.
That's not what he says.
He thinks it in his heart, in his soul. Okay.
Okay, it got really intense there. So, once again, written by Paul McCusker and Mark Summer. I'm still going to assume that Mark Summer was
Matt
Summer. I can't read. I'm still going to assume that Mr. Summer...
You should do capital T's at the end of his name.
No.
Matt Summer.
Matt T.T. Summer was the historical consultant on this episode. That's still what I think. I'm sticking to it because I have no idea otherwise. As I said before, I cannot stress how much I love Whit's approach to telling this story, in that he recognizes that it is a historical account, a true historical account from long ago, and the records about it are extremely sketchy, and Whit is very upfront about what is known and what we're sure of and what we're not.
He actually gives Jared an alternate option for what he wants to hear.
He avoids over-sensationalizing the story, and by doing that, he keeps it very real, which is super cool. Also, in that specific moment of Patrick returning to England at the beginning, he turns it into like this choose-your-own-adventure story, because that's
Which I really like.
Because we're that unsure about it, and he lets Jared work through the different possibilities for what we actually know about the historical account, which is really cool. Because Whit, he doesn't try and say, like, this is what happened when we're not sure of. He keeps it very real about how much we actually know about the historical account.
Which is something that Odyssey does great in general.
I appreciate that so much.
Whit is like the embodiment of Odyssey. Maybe it's because he's the main character, but...
And because he keeps sucking out everyone's souls through Imagination Station to keep his youth. I saw that headcanon on the TOO the other day. Well, actually, they said to keep the Imagination Station alive. But we all know it's...
That's what I said during our thing
Yeah,
today.
I know.
Yeah. I wonder if I said that because I was thinking about that because I wasn't. But
oh, I figured you were.
No, I wasn't.
I can once Patrick gets back to his village in England, I can sort of understand how his father doesn't recognize Patrick because he was wearing a hood, and it's been 7 years, and Patrick was pretty young.
7 years? I thought it was more than that.
You said 7 years. Patrick was pretty young when he was taken. He's older now, so his voice sounds different.
How old was he when he came back then?
I guess like 22-ish, maybe 23. He's probably 15, 16 when he was taken. So it's understandable his dad didn't recognize him because all he could hear was his voice, and his voice had changed.
Hello, Father! Hello, Father!
However, Patrick has absolutely zero excuses for not recognizing his father, in that he could see his father's face, and considering his father's age, his voice would not have changed in 7 years. So we had no excuse.
You look exactly like my father, sound like him, and live on the same property.
You must be a duck.
Hello, stranger. Have we met?
Oh, boy. The dream sequence has always felt a little bit kind of weird to me. It's probably the spontaneous bagpipes that come are a little weird.
It's a little bit whimsical. How do you think Whit was telling that?
It's a little...
He just, was telling the story, and then he got, Eugene to come in and, start playing the bagpipes or something. And then Jared's just, sitting there, and he gets Connie to make, wind noises, and he gets, Bernard to come in and go, woo, and then Jared's just sitting there, and he's just
racist.
I didn't mean to do, make...
Okay.
I just meant to make strange noises. I wasn't doing anything
something like that. Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Like weird bird calls or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. Anyway,
fair enough.
I just can imagine Jared sitting there in his green sweater and just being like,
I need an adult. Interesting point.
And he's like, and they think I'm crazy.
Yeah. Good point, Victoria.
And then Jared comes up with this conspiracy that, like, everyone at Wit's End is insane, and no one believes him because they didn't see the bagpipe thing. Because they were all being unconscious in the imagination station because they were all hit in the head with hammers.
Here we go. All the dialogue in this episode, you have to appreciate it. It is beautifully written. It's all so eloquent and it flows so well. You have to give props to Paul for the way he wrote all the dialogue in this episode. Like, I would even need to say giving props to Paul after everything that he's written before. You know,
I really like the Queen and the King. Like, I know the King does some pretty dumb things, but I really like the King.
Eiley is the bomb.
I know, right? Every single time I listen to her, I'm like, you go, girl!
She's one of my favorite female characters on all of Odyssey.
She's one of my favorite royal female characters.
Strong women representation right there. Queen Eiley of Ireland.
There's like Jezebel, and then you got Eiley. It's like two completely
I was gonna
different
say,
sides.
really,
of the
you're
spectrum.
using Jezebel as an example of good, strong women character?
No,
I mean,
like
she is
horrible character.
But she's also
and then
super
you got
evil.
Awesomeness.
Yeah,
you got crappy character and awesome character.
Okay.
Opposing forces.
I will say this until I die: the sound design in this episode is unbelievable.
Ow, my arm.
Is my mind doing that?
Hi, guys.
The dream sequence may have been a little weird with random bagpipes, but the overall kind of eeriness to it is really good, and the balance of the sound design is really good, even if it's strange.
Speaking of last episode, remember when I said, guys, that I've always wanted a sword my whole life, so I could act out that scene?
She said that in the last review.
Guess what I got a couple weeks ago? I got a sword.
Go grab it and show it to him while I'm talking.
No, I don't want to run upstairs.
No, do it. It's cool.
No.
Do it
I'll do
for
it
the
next episode. I'll do it next episode.
You'll forget. It's relevant now.
No, they can look up. They can look forward to it.
Oh, fine. Tune in next time. Whatever.
You'll get to see my sword.
Yeah. You'll have to be in the intro then, because it's gonna... Yeah, we'll get to that. Anyway, so...
We can just play that scene, and then I'll just swing my sword around.
True. This dream sequence may fall a little weird with the random bagpipes, I will admit, but the Oval Office of it...
of Adventures in Odyssey is amazing.
The overall eeriness of it is perfect, like I said. The scene with Lochru and the deer is fantabulastic.
Phenomenal. I've always loved that scene, and there's always like something about that scene that always just makes me like listen to it in awe.
I've never really appreciated it enough until I was listening to it now. I was like, this is gorgeous sound design. I mean, this episode is incredible. The night ambiance and the forest sound effects in there, the quiet mystic music, and then they have like this low Gregorian chanting on top of it. And it's just so chilling and mysterious and
it really
A++++.
reminds me of like those CDs Mom has, like
the unicorn one.
Yeah, like
that's
the
what I was thinking of.
And also like the flute,
magic flute.
The magic flute.
I was totally thinking of that Merlin one with the last unicorn composer CD, whatever it's called.
Yeah, because that's like the kind of
and Morgan Le Fay in it. That is exactly what I was thinking of when I wrote that comment.
That's what I've always thought of in that part.
NSYNC.
NSYNC.
I was gonna sing Backstreet's Back, but that is so obviously not the right band because the name
Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, because the name is right in that line. It's not the right.
Good job,
thing.
Devin.
Thank you. I am so hip down with the low kid homie G's.
Home skillet.
Yeah, I learned all my rapping skills from Charles Edward Thompson.
Sometimes I get sad about ants because they can't wear any pants.
Chores are the hands that squeeze my neck. That wasn't Charles, but
no, it wasn't.
I was thinking of the
Communicate. Kevin is the one who made that song awesome.
Communicate. Just open up your heart and communicate. Gotta share the message before we're too late. And the best way to do it is
I went
communicate.
to a youth council retreat this weekend, and there's a whole service about communication, and I kept on wanting to like stand up and start singing "Communicate."
I'm glad I was thinking of that too.
Yeah,
I was in the sound booth.
Thinking like "Communicate."
I was in the sound booth and
I was like, "Communicate, yeah."
Okay.
I keep on singing Kevin's version, but I don't care because it's better.
Earl Bowen is the best, as always, as Lochru.
Earl Bowen! Ah!
He is always the
I'm
best.
so inattentive.
And he continues to be the best. When he
I
yells,
knew it was someone.
when he yells in the desert scene, he's like, "You're missing them. These are not the men, but they're not dear, but the very men themselves." When he yells, he sounds like when he's playing German King Nimrod after everyone gets Babylized. He sounds exactly the same, even though he's being Irish. Yeah.
Okay.
When Whit says Patrick wasn't a magician,
What's this?
this is rowing the boat to Ireland. Patrick wasn't a magician; he was a man of prayer. And he says that's up to someone else to explain how it happened.
I love that line so much.
Yeah, Whit's diplomacy and historical and spiritual accuracy here continues to delight me.
What do you think about this scene? I've always wondered that. I've never asked. Yeah.
Wow, Gene Wilder lines. Going. No one knows where we're going. The boat shows no signs of slowing. We don't know where we are going. Lizard beetle biting on the walls. Technicolor
Chicken
light.
getting his head cut off.
Mr. What's his face? The everlasting gobstopper guy.
Slugworth.
Yeah, Slugworth. That's his name. Okay, back to the episode.
Well, it's as random as it is in the movie, so it fits pretty well.
Touche. Why do you guys watch this podcast? My goodness.
Please tell us. We really want to know.
When Whit talks about how Patrick walked the length and breadth of Ireland, I was like, yes, the enormous sprawling empire of Ireland. Ow. Because Ireland is such an enormous country.
You never said what you think about that episode. You tried to distract.
Which episode?
The scene with the deer.
Oh.
You tried to distract me.
Oh, I forgot about that because we were rowing faster, and then I thought of Willy Wonka.
You were rowing faster.
I really can't comment on it. I'm going to take Whit's approach. That's up to someone else to explain.
Okay.
Yep. Speaking of enormity, I want to know how big these fires were that they were lighting for not Easter. Like, how big does a bonfire have to be seen from that far? I guess in the middle of the night you can see a bonfire from a very big distance because it's blackout. But the royal one is supposed to be, very comparably much larger than all of these other ones. So,
maybe that's what they spent, all that time doing.
Are we talking about, a marshmallow roast and bonfire? Or, there's a skyscraper on fire kind of fire?
I'm thinking, the size of the King's Fire would probably be, about the size of a building, so there's probably be about the size of
did they literally stack a whole forest to burn?
Maybe that's where the pirate ship went. Maybe Patrick's and they're thank you so much for taking care of the animals. How can we repay you? Well, if I one day need to use your ship for firewood, I'm gonna do that. See you later. And they're wait! And he's just too late. A deal has been made.
If the roles had been reversed in the story and Lockrow had been the good guy and Queen Eileen had been the bad guy, we'd have been in a lot more trouble.
Yep.
Because she is so much smarter than Lockrow. Okay, I know what I said earlier about how Whit tells the story really well in a non-over-sensationalized way, which keeps it really realistic, but the one thing that's really...
That's how you spell Lucamale.
Well, I don't know. That's how I spelled it.
It looks better than how I spelled it. I didn't even spell her name right.
I thought it looked pretty Gaelic. The one thing sensationalized in this story, Victoria gave it away by reading my notes, is Lucid Male's character.
I only said her name.
Everything else.
Anything.
Everything else in this story is really good, but I don't know. I mean, I don't mind normally, kind of the character stereotype, but when this whole episode was being so good at being a really accurate historical portrayal, having her be the creepy old lady voice and the cackling laughter and the deadliest poison in the land, and you can hear the sound of a boiling cauldron in the background.
Okay, maybe you have a point.
You know what it made me think of was the Muppets Prince and the Pauper one, the one with Sweetums.
Oh, I love that movie so much.
That's who I think of when I think of Lucid Male giving him the poison. I think of her dungeon there, and she has her staff with the crooked ball thingy. Break the bane in the candle of her hall. That thing.
Yeah. Oh man, everyone go watch the Muppet Princess and the Frog. Not the Prince and the Pauper.
Oh, you're right. That was Princess and the Frog.
Yes,
Princess and the Frog.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Everything with the Muppets is
I'm pretty sure
beautiful.
that was the first appearance of Sweetums. interestingly. I could be wrong.
Maybe. Well, they would have had the Muppet Show before they made a release of, like, something without the Muppets in general. And he was on the Muppet Show. Everyone was on the Muppet Show.
As Patrick is having communion with Lockrew and Leary and Eiley.
We're so random in this episode.
Patrick is like, to drink such a cup is deadly. And then Lockrew is like, is it? I can't imagine there would be anything deadly about any of these cups. Those are his exact words. I was like, wow, that is very subtle there, Lockrew. Definitely no suspicion that you literally poisoned one of these chalices now. And then Queen Eiley is flipping amazing, as she always is. We all know who wears the pants in this kingdom. It is very evident.
Not Lockrew.
Or Leary. Okay, that's all I have to say. Not as long as we did for the previous episode, because I said most of the stuff I wanted to say in the first part. But still...
Everything I want to say about this episode...
amazing!
Just pretty much is summed up with those words. That's all I can say about this episode. Like, I know I haven't really said anything for this part, but I can't really think of anything to
Words
say.
cannot describe.
This episode is another one that's on my top 10 list.
Yeah.
I just really love
Okay,
this one.
final ratings. I will go first this time. 5 out of 5. Absolutely. Hands down, this episode is perfect.
And I will give it 5 maybe deer out of 5.
Yes. It is, so good, so good to me is how I feel about this episode. These episodes. The message...
I thought you were bursting in the song there.
The message and the way Whit tells the story is fantastic. He does this amazing job of diplomacy and teaching a whole bunch of lessons just in the little ways that he words things and the way that he and a really cool lesson, like I was saying, talking about the nature, or what you can draw from it, the nature of good and evil and how we view that depending on how our interdenominational views on sainthood and the way it's perceived in the church. It's really cool. All these different things. The incredible historical realism he gives to the way he tells the story. He doesn't claim to know everything about it, but is completely upfront about what really happened and what we really know about what happened and what we don't. The sound design, I would probably put this episode as the best sound design of any episode I can think of overall.
Well, even Focus on the Family puts this with their best sound design moments.
I would probably put this as the number one sound design episode ever.
My favorite sound design moments would be probably 1 as the sword fight, 2 Exit coming in when the Imagination Station blows up, and
3 the deer scene. Maybe? I don't know.
But those would be my top 2.
I don't really usually, when I'm not analyzing stuff for the Oddcast, I don't focus a whole lot on the sound design. But,
holy.
So good. And I'm not talking about the music. If I wanted to talk about favorite background music, then obviously I would be talking about... Say it, because you know what my favorite is.
Yeah, it's one of the times you actually know something about his favorite stuff in Odyssey, other than
my favorite background music is...
Prisoners of Fear!
Yes! And my favorite music being sung in the episode that's not background music is, obviously, Jubilee Singers.
Mine?
So good.
Mine next to the Jubilee Singers has to be, what's the song it's one of the songs from Odyssey sings.
Tamika's song?
No, I don't like that one. No, that one's not that great.
Officer Stubert.
No, actually that one's not that bad.
Stubert.
No, it's Harlow's song.
Oh,
that
The Death of Tragedy.
Yeah, The Death of Tragedy.
I
freaking love that song. When I get really bored, I'm like, well, what do I do? And then all of a sudden I'm just like, I'm gonna sing The Death of Tragedy.
Is that note over? Ooh, I'm dead. I forgot. Bum.
That song is so good. I love that song so much.
Now that we've talked about that, your ratings.
I already said it.
Oh yeah. So did you have anything else to add to why you rated it that?
I feel bad because I haven't said that much, but said pretty much everything in the last episode.
Yeah.
All my comments, just take them from the last episode.
Which is good, because, we spent forever talking about Drake the Cosmic Copper, so it's good we
But
didn't spend as
to
long
be
on this one.
fair, for us, there's a heck of a lot to talk about in Drake the Cosmic Copper.
And this one too, but we binned it all, I should say.
Shoved it onto the last one.
Yes. Into episode 29. Into episode 30, sorry.
That's all, folks.
Yeah.
See you next time
When we talk about...
interview...
No.
Oh, never mind.
That's not for a ways off.
Oh, forget I said that.
Well, we mentioned it last time when we filmed. We mentioned that last episode.
No
Okay.
words.
This episode...
Only dreams.
This episode is definitely not going to come out in time, so there's no point in talking about it. We're interviewing Garrett Vandenberg. You already know that from the last episode. But this isn't going to come out in time before the interview, so there's no point in asking for interview questions here. So
thank you to those who sent interview questions. We'll read your names off in another episode.
In the interview episode like we did last time. Hopefully we get more
My
than
hat
one.
is crooked.
Hopefully we get more than one person who sends in interview questions before time runs out for the interview. Either way, Victoria and I still have tons of questions to ask Garrett. There are always many things to be asked about someone, especially someone involved in as many projects and, such a cool person as the wonderful Garrett Vandenberg.
Yep.
Good guy. So, next time, we're doing what, Victoria? Do you remember? I hope so. I talked about it earlier today.
Is the...
No.
Oh, no, then I don't.
We are doing lore number 2.
Oh, right, Connie's lore.
Yes, we're doing lore for Connie Kendall. So,
Kendall.
that's what's happening next time. Which means that there's only going to be a little bit of actually video of our faces right at the beginning and end.
Connell.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to call her through the whole episode. There's only going to be a little bit of our faces, so we'll have to make sure that Victoria squeezes in her keyblade into that part.
I'll do the intro to the episode.
You could do the intro by yourself if you want, since I'll be reading out the whole thing in the middle.
I've never done the intro by myself.
How exciting! Change of pace for episode 33. But
Let's
for
leave
now,
it on a cliffhanger. What will happen?
But for now,
Will I bomb it? Probably.
that's the end of episode 32 of the
Yeah!
Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast. That is Victoria Grace, June Francis.
And this is Devin Gordon Francis.
Yeah, you remembered my middle name better than Mom did.
Yeah, Mom doesn't know his middle name.
Yeah, last summer, I needed a credit card to get one before I went away for school. There's only a couple days left, and I was working all the time, so I wasn't going to have a chance to go fill out a form at the bank before I left. It wasn't just because I'm lazy or because I need my mother to do everything for me. She goes, fills out the form. I got my credit card in the mail. It says Devin John Francis. I'm like, Mom, it says Devin John Francis on it. She's like, yeah. I'm like, that's Dad's middle name. My middle name is Gordon. She was like, I was like, I mean, she's done it a couple times on forms before for things, but literally, credit card, like, God.
Okay, calm down.
I was in shock. I never let her forget. I also forgot final information for Patrick to talk about.
Hurry. This episode's pretty long.
Yeah, I know it's going to be a very long episode.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry for...
To those of you who want to go outside and play... I said go outside.
Patrick, a heart of fire.
That's an interesting picture of Rodney. Anyway.
Okay. There was the thing that I read last time, which I'll read again.
You don't have to read it again.
Yes, I do. Was that the beginning thing for this album? I think it was.
Probably.
It was a big thing. Yes. Okay, this is the one I read last time. The True Story of St. Patrick. This album introduces St. Patrick. Though there are plenty of legends about him, not much is truly known about his life. Some say he used a shamrock to explain how God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit make up the Trinity. Others say he drove snakes out of Ireland. One thing is true, St. Patrick was an amazing man of God. St. Patrick was one of the first people to speak out against slavery. Few Christian leaders condemned slavery until centuries later. What are you laughing at?
Nothing. Continue reading.
Is the way I'm reading?
No, continue reading.
But St. Patrick spoke against it in the early 400s. I saw that.
Continue reading.
Perhaps he did this because he was once a slave. Jesus told his disciples to go into all the world with the good news. But for more than 400 years, no Christians preached in places like Ireland, in part because of the deep spiritual darkness that existed there. St. Patrick believed the Irish were people created in God's image, and despite being made a slave at their hands, he took the gospel back to them.
He poked me!
And eventually changed the entire nation. And now the new one, which I didn't read last time because it's specific to part 2, is somewhere in the book. Where could it be?
The next page.
Okay. This is about... So it's the same thing. We have New Year's Eve Live, Lesson from Mike, Natural Born Leader, Graduate,
There.
Hide and Seek, Faster, Screen... Oh, here it is. Sound Bites with Jonathan Grow. Sometimes the smallest sounds are the hardest to get. The sound of the king dropping the goblet in St. Patrick, A Heart of Fire, gave me fits.
Fitz. Like
Fitz.
the character from S.H.I.E.L.D., my favorite character.
Fitzsimmons.
I wish dropping things gave me fits.
Yeah, I'll drop you.
What? I dropped my computer to get to meet Fitz. Actually, I'd probably just drop a flower or
The sound of the
something,
king dropping a goblet in St. Patrick, A Heart of Fire. I guess you could almost call it the goblet, a fire.
Does he say that? Oh, no, he doesn't. Ha ha ha.
The goblet,
ha, ha.
a fire.
Yeah, I get it. Devin.
Gave me fits. A real cup or glass just didn't sound right. Eventually,
Everything about Fitz is right. He's Scottish.
I eventually got a piece of metal and dropped it.
Fitz is Scottish, Devin.
This episode's about Ireland.
It's close enough.
Don't let them hear you say that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry.
We're gonna get some hate mail.
I'm sorry.
I eventually got a piece of metal and dropped it on a wooden door sill to get the right sound. I added the liquid spill after. The end.
I'm sorry if I offended anyone.
I hope we don't have any listeners in the British Isles. Okay, so yeah, next time, lore number 2, talking about Connie. Until then, this has been the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast. She's been Victoria Grace Jean Francis.
And we already said this.
Yeah, I've been Devin John Francis, apparently. And this has been the Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast.
Bleh.
Just move it over this way.
Ah, no! The tablecloth!
Fix it.
Ah!
Quick.
I did as much as I can. But they can't see the tablecloth when we film like this. They'll just have to trust us that it's there.
You can angle the camera down. Ooh, tablecloth.
Tablecloth. Oh.
Transformers 4. Michael Bay.
Can we tell you guys this? So we were in Spokane. We were in the U.S. We were on a trip. We went to go see Wicked.
It was a trip, all right.
And so we will go to see Amazing Spider-Man 2 in the mall. And when we're going up, the escalators, we see the billboard cutout for the new Transformers movie.
Transformers
And
4.
I didn't know anything about the Transformers 4 movie. I hadn't seen the trailer yet. Had you?
Yes.
Anyway, so what I see is Optimus Prime riding on the back of a Transformers T-Rex. And so me and Devin just get off the escalator and we just stop and we stare at it for like a good solid couple seconds. And then, shut up. And then we just look at each other and we're like, well, Michael Bay, you've done it. We didn't think you could, but, well, I thought he could. But you've reached a whole new level of sad.
What did I say about it? I said, Michael Bay has now taken his exploding fighting robot trucks and turned them into fighting exploding robot dinosaur trucks. I said there's only one more. If he can make them scantily clad fighting exploding dinosaur robot trucks, he will ascend the final echelon to Michael Bay singularity.